Who was the dumbest person you ever met? How did you know? My sister-in-law is an anti-vaxxer and believes her kid's cerebral palsy was caused by vaccines despite the kid being born with 1/4 of her brain physically missing. That girl is lucky. She cold been born missing her whole brain like her mother. There was a guy who made fun of me because I was a pedestrian waiting a green light. Haha, who's scared of motorized death machines, pussy. Worked with a lady who I convinced you could buy full-size dinosaurs online. Also believed Denzel Washington was the president when Obama was in office, no lie. She thought I was trying to trick her into believing that Adolf Hitler was real. Someone in my work expressed shock once at my postcard of Niagara Falls because she didn't believe it was a real place. I thought that was just for films. I always thought it was a made-up place. Ick now, like the Grand Canyon. A friend that told me that drinking protein shakes means that my muscles are all fake and fat. My stepdad literally told me the same thing yesterday. He said protein shakes give you fake muscle, and I was confused as to how he came to this conclusion. Had a girl I worked with at McDonald's, sweet as could be, but denser than the concrete the store sat on. 2 moments stand out to me. 1. She thought the Great Wall of China was in Arizona. 2. She firmly believed north was whatever direction you were looking at the moment. Had a girl tell me she was scared to give her black boyfriend a blowjob because I don't know if his cum would be white or black. That was definitely the moment I knew. Your story about gas stations reminded me of the time that I saw a girl keep trying to pump gas in her car because it hadn't reached the prepaid amount yet, but her tank was full. Fuel spilled out of the tank and she was shocked when her friend started yelling at her. She had a mug from Disneyland with the name Ronald on it. She thought you just picked a mug of the name you like and not your actual fucking name. Was working at a grocery store over a decade ago. I wouldn't call the kid dumb because he just didn't know. It's more of a funny thing. He was new and the manager asked him to face the store. When he asked what he could do, facing means you make sure the aisles look nice and neat and that the product is pulled forward and visibly facing you as you walk down the aisle. The kid couldn't be found until someone told the manager one of the workers was just standing in the parking lot facing the store. I will never forget that. I was taught 11th grade science by a teacher who believed tattoos were genetically inherited. While visiting the Lincoln Memorial, I ran into an older couple discussing the inscription of the Gettysburg Address on the walls. The woman asked the man what this was in reference to and if it was about America, and the man said something to the effect of, "No, this couldn't be about America. We never had any slaves here in our country. It must be about what happened in country X. These were 2 Americans." I have geography in 3rd period and this kid thinks there's 2 Floridas. Florida. Florida. It checks out. I live in southern Spain. I once met a girl from the US who was here on some kind of exchange program. When I asked her how did she like Spain so far, she said I'm loving it. I just don't know why the plane took so long to get here. I mean, we are just a bit below Mexico. I don't know why the flight was so long. Then I told her that we were in Europe. And she didn't believe me. Her reply was, Europe? It can't be. Everyone speaks Spanish, so we must be somewhere near Mexico for sure. She was in uni. I still don't know how or why. We hired a girl a couple years ago. I told her where the manager's office was her first day. Second day, she asked me where the manager's office was, so I walked her to the door. Third day, she asks me where it is again. Our manager chewed out the girl who trained our new recruit for not teaching the job properly. The trainer pulled out her phone and showed the manager a picture of the girl wearing the uniform backwards and said, "Look at this. This is untrainable." New girl got fired about 3 weeks later for stealing the product because she thought she got it for free because she was an employee. Edit. Some of you are kind enough to give her the benefit of the doubt about not finding the office. Unfortunately, this office was located on the 2nd floor, which consisted of a hallway with a single door and nothing else. It wasn't possible to get lost. Also, spelling. My first ever girlfriend thought you had to study for an STD test. She was really pretty. Girl in my class asked the professor if other countries have moons too. My best friend asked me this when I moved to Europe. She asked if I could see the moon there or if it only existed for the USA. When I moved from Europe to the U.S. I was asked, do you guys have television? This was in 2005. Edit. The rest of the conversation went no, the castles don't have electricity to plug a TV into. I thought she was kidding, so I was joking back. She replied, oh, yeah, that makes sense. A girl in an AP US history class laughed at me when I was talking about driving to Alaska from Oregon. She insisted Alaska was an island because of how it is separated out on maps like this. I don't know if she was the dumbest person I met overall, but it was certainly the dumbest thing someone insisted they were right about. Half of my science class thought that the International Space Station was just some building on the ground. Ah yes, the International Land Station. I'm late, but car dashboard reads 40 miles to E. My car says in 40 miles, we'll be going east. A girl in my art class in high school thought there was just a part of the cow called meat. When we explained meat is the muscles, she freaked out and became vegetarian. A friend of mine is a sweet guy, but is overweight and balding and quite frankly, not very attractive in the face. Well, one day he lets us know that he has met a girl and she might be the one. He's in his late 20s for reference. Well, I've met some of the jewels he's hooked up with in the past, so I wasn't expecting too much. Finally meet this girl, and she is drop dead gorgeous, and has a body that is incredible. I talked to her for a while, and she is super friendly and outgoing. I'm stoked for my boy. He found the best he's ever gonna find. Anyway, the night progresses, and the new couple starts talking about their plans for an upcoming trip to New Mexico, and she starts telling us how excited she is, because she has never gone to another country before. I laughed a bit, and realized she was dead serious. My friend just looked at me, and shook his head, and I knew that he knew. She was dumb as a fucking rock, but she was his dumb fucking rock. FWIW, he helped her get her passport. Few years ago in Australia, Coke changed their bottle to be a bit narrower and taller to suit less plastic. Both bottles were 600 milliliters. Girl in my class at uni adamant that the change wasn't to reduce plastic, but so they could put less Coke in to save money. I know they are both 600 milliliters, but the new one has less Coke in it. I asked a temp at work to weigh a couple of lever arch files for postage. She came back and told me they were 65 kilograms. I asked if it were possible that it was 6.5 kilograms, but she insisted it wasn't. We argued about it for a good 5 minutes. It wasn't until I asked her how much she weighed, 59 kilograms, that it finally twigged that these two small folders couldn't possibly weigh more than her. One time my now ex-girlfriend was watching Maury Povich, one of those paternity test episodes with the classic "you are not the father" moment, and she turns to me and says, if we ever have a baby and I found out I'm not the mother, I'll kill you. Thankfully we didn't end up reproducing. You just randomly bring home a baby. Congratulations, dear, we've had a child. Don't worry, it's yours, honey. I was working retail at the time, and this lady walks in and asks me to tell her when it is 10:15 AM she needs to catch a bus. We were slow, so I obliged. 10:15 AM rolls around and I tell her, so she drops her stuff and runs out to get the bus. 5 minutes later she comes back, it's scowling, and she then lectures me on how to tell time. How much is a quarter? 25 cents. So why would you tell me 10:15 AM is 10:15 AM? It's 10:25 AM. I remember a guy I knew in middle school who put money into a vending machine and then his item didn't come out. Then he put more money into the machine and 2 of the item he wanted came out. He then exclaimed, "Alright, 2 for 1. Man, I remember a guy in middle school who would put money in the vending machine and then sell the item for less money because he thought that's what making a profit was. Dang it, late to the party. Anyway, I was a cook a few years ago, and this particular busy night, we ran out of lobster mac and cheese. This one waitress could not understand how this was possible, and just kept nagging and nagging in disbelief. I got annoyed to the point that I told her the reason for this was that there was a shortage of people with small enough hands to milk lobster's tiny nipples, hence a worldwide shortage of lobster milk to make that dish. I had to come clean with her when she started telling this to customers, and they demanded to speak with a manager. That's pretty fucking funny. How pissed was your manager? She was pretty pissed at me, somehow.